I am making a Lunalight deck profile. I really like how the deck worked. I just need to make a few tweaks. But starting off with the monsters, I played 2 copies of Lunalight Black Sheep. Black Sheep has 2 effects where you can discard to either add a Lunalight that's in your graveyard to your hand or a polymerization from your deck to your hand. And if it's used as fusion material, you can add a Lunalight monster from your graveyard or face up extra deck to your hand. I believe you can only use each effect of Black Sheep once per turn. Let's see. My mistake. There's no once per turn on Black Sheep at all. So you can discard them both to add 2 Lunalight monsters from your graveyard to your hand. Next, I play 2 copies of Lunalight Tiger. Lunalight Tiger is a soft once per turn. Target a Lunalight monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but it cannot attack with its effects are negated. And then it's destroyed during the end phase, but that's just a Monster Reborn effect that you can actually use multiple times by returning it to your hand multiple times. Next, I play 2 copies of Lunalight Silverhound. Silverhound has 2 effects where if it's sent to the graveyard by card effect, you can special summon a Lunalight monster from your deck. While you control that monster, you are locked into Lunalights. And then Silverhound also has the grave effect of, I believe, it's whenever your opponent activates a card or effect. You know, it's a spell or trap card on the field that activates. You can banish this and a Lunalight fusion monster from your graveyard to negate the activation and destroy that card. Or negate the effect. Okay, no, just negates the activation, not destroys. I always think it's negate and destroy. Anyway, next, I play 3 copies of Lunalight Gold Leo. Gold Leo has the effect that when it's normal or special summon, you can add a Lunalight monster from your deck to your hand, and then you discard a card. And if a Lunalight monster is sent to the graveyard while this card is in your monster zone, except during the damage step, you can target one of them, add it to your hand. And you can use each effect of Lunalight Gold Leo once per turn. Next, I play 3 one-ofs in the form of 1 Kaleido Chick, 1 Emerald Bird, and 1 Yellow Martin. Martin has the effect this card's in your hand or graveyard. You can try a Lunalight card you control, return to the hand, special limits card, but it's banished and leaves the field. And then with this card sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can add a Lunalight spell or trap from your deck to your hand. And then Emerald Bird has the effect when it's normal or special summon, you can send a Lunalight card from your hand or graveyard, or from your hand to the graveyard to then draw 1 card. And this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect. You can target one of your level 4 lower Lunalight monsters that's banished from your graveyard, except for another Emerald Bird. Special summon in defense position, but negates effects. And you only use each of those effects once per turn. And then Kaleido Chick is the most broken, as is a soft once per turn, of being able to send a Lunalight monster from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard to copy its name as a fusion material. And then, so you remember it has another effect. This card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect. You can target 1 polymerization in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can use that effect to Kaleido Chick once per turn. If this card is banished, you can activate this effect. This turn your opponent's cards. Let's see. This turn your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated during the battle phase. So, that is another very good effect being able to use. As Lunalight is able to control the board, but it's also able to just OTK if your opponent can't do anything about it. And then lastly, for the Lunalight monsters, I play 1 copy of Lunalight Wolf. This just has the pendulum scale of letting you fusion summon by banishing from your field or graveyard. But it has to be a Lunalight fusion monster you summon. For the one-of spells, I play 1 copy of Lunalight Fusion. This lets you fusion summon a Lunalight fusion monster from your extra deck by using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. And then, if your opponent controls the monster summoned from the extra deck, then you can use... Let's see. You can also make a fusion summon using 1 Lunalight monster from your deck or extra deck. So this is actually a really good going second card. Because your opponent has a monster from the extra deck and you have 3 other Lunalights in your hand, you can just send Leo Dancer and then 3 Lunalights in your hand to summon Liger Dancer. Next, I play 1 copy of Polymerization since you are able to recur it back so easily. And I play one copy of Called by the Grave just because, well, hand traps still exist. And then next, I also play 2 copies of Lunalight Perfume. Lunalight Perfume, thanks to Perfume Dancer, is now searchable. But once you target a Lunalight monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and then you can banish this card from your graveyard, discard a card, to then be able to add a Lunalight monster from your deck to your hand. The best part of this card is that there's no once per turn on it anywhere, so if you have both, you can use both in the same turn. Next, I play 3 copies of Lunalight Masquerade. Lunalight Masquerade has the effect during your main phase. If this card is activated this turn, you can send a Lunalight from your deck to your graveyard. And if you fusion summon a Lunalight monster, you can add a Polymerization from your graveyard or banish to your hand. Then you can discard a card. And if you do, if you fusion summon a Lunalight monster this turn, you can also use banish monsters from your graveyard's material. So it's just another thing that lets you banish from grave to fusion summon. And then next, I play 3 copies of Fire Formation Tenki. I'm honestly thinking about cutting this down to 1 just because of how I play 1 copy of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Tiger King. And Tiger King is able to set this from deck just by being a generic rank 4 for this deck. I say that because it technically requires 2 level 4 Beast Warriors. But if Fire Formation Tenki has the effect, you can activate 1 per turn. While it's on the field, all your Beast Warriors gain 100 attack. But when it's activated, you can add any Beast Warrior from your deck to your hand. And lastly, for the spells, I play 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. This is just a really good card, being able to non-target negate monsters your opponent controls, and then your opponent cannot respond with cards or effects of the same type as cards you send to the graveyard with its effect. So if you send a monster and a trap, your opponent can only respond with a spell. If you send a monster, spell, and trap, your opponent just can't respond at all. And then that's it for the spells. For the hand traps, I play 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. This just makes it so that except outside of the draw phase, if your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, then you can discard this card, so until the end of the turn, neither player can add cards from their deck to their hand. Next, I play 3 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. This just can only be used when your opponent activates a monster effect, or the effect of a spell or trap that is already face up on the field. This just lets you discard it to then be able to destroy that monster or card. And then next, I play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. This honestly is just in here mostly to negate Charmies. But it can be discarded when your opponent activates a card or effect that includes the effect of being able to send from deck to grave, summon from deck, or add from deck to hand. Speaking of Molcharmies, I also play 3 copies of Molcharmy Fuwalos. Fuwalos lets you discard it to then be able to make it so that every time your opponent summons from deck or extra deck, you get to draw a card. And then during your opponent's end phase, if your opponent has 5 cards in play and your hand has more than 11 cards in it, you randomly shuffle cards from your hand back to the deck until you have 11 cards in your hand. I like to use 11 because it's how many cards your opponent controls plus 6. So if your opponent has 5 cards, then you can have at most 11 cards. And you can use 2 Molcharmy effects per turn. I also side Perulia, where Perulia does the same thing as Fuwalos, except instead of drawing when your opponent summons from extra deck or deck, you draw when your opponent summons from hand. And then lastly, for the hand traps, I play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence can be used as long as you control no cards, where you target a monster your opponent controls, negate its effects. And if it was activated while it was set on the field, then it will also negate spells and trap cards your opponent activates that are in the same column. Or negates all spells and traps in its same column. So if you activate on your turn, it will also negate your spells and traps in its column. Which I've actually managed to lose a match like that. But, so that's how I learned the hard way. Moving on to the extra deck. There's a couple of changes I would make to the extra deck as well. First off, I play 1 copy of Cross Sheep. This just has the effect that you can apply it when a monster is summoned to a zone it points to. You can apply its effect depending on what monster is in the zones it points to. which in this case, it would only be fusion, lets you summon a level 4 or lower monster from your graveyard. And then XZs just makes so you can make all your opponent's monsters with 700 attack. Really, you want this in here for the fusion monster effect, where you can bring back any level 4 or lower monster. Next, I play one copy of SP Lunalight. SP Lunalight has the effect that when summoned using a monster summoned from the extra deck, then you can target one card on the field or in the graveyard, banish it, but if you use that effect, you cannot attack directly that turn. And then SP's other effect is when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can activate its effect targeting one monster you control and one other monster on the field. Banish both until the end of the turn. For the fusion monsters, I play one copy of Cat Dancer. Lunalight Cat Dancer just requires 2 Lunalight monsters. It can't be destroyed by battle once per turn. Or it can't be destroyed by battle once per turn. And then during main phase 1, you contribute one other Lunalight. I didn't see a period. It can't be destroyed by battle, then once per turn during your main phase. You can contribute one other Lunalight monster, so for the rest of this turn, the first time each monster your opponent controls will be destroyed by battle, it's not destroyed. Also, it can make this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls twice each. And then it also has the effect that when it declares an attack, you inflict 100 damage. It's just in here in case you need to make a quick fusion monster, just to get a little bit more damage. But with the same requirements, you could also just make a Perfume Dancer, where Perfume Dancer has the effect that when summoned, you can then add a Lunalight Perfume from your deck to your hand. Because the biggest issue with that card is that's Luna Space Light and not Lunalight as one word. And then you can target one other Lunalight card you control. Let's see, I don't remember the rest of its effects, I didn't really use any of its other effects. Okay, you can target one other Lunalight card you control, return to the hand or extra deck, then you can special a Lunalight monster in your hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard. This turn, all monsters your opponent controls lose attack equal to their original defense. Which really, that third effect isn't really used unless you're trying to OTK. Next, I play one copy of Lunalight Saber Dancer. Saber Dancer has the effect that it has to be fusion summoned, gains 200 attack for each Beast Warrior monster that is banished or in your graveyard. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects, and then during the main phase, except the turn this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one fusion monster you control. It gains 3,000 attack till the end of this turn. You can use each effect of Saber Dancer once per turn. Saber Dancer honestly is just in this deck mostly to be sent to the graveyard off a Kaleido Chick. Just so that if you're going first, you send this with Kaleido Chick, so that on your next turn you can then boost your Liger Dancer to 6,800, and then just be able to start smacking really hard. Next, I play 2 copies of Leo Dancer. Leo Dancer is really just in this deck to be sent off of Kaleido Chick to summon one of your 2 copies of Liger Dancer. Liger Dancer has the effect of must be fusion summoned with the above fusion materials. It's unaffected by card effects except for Lunalight effects. And then Liger Dancer actually has the effect where it can attack twice during each battle phase, and then once per turn as a quick effect, you can send another Lunalight monster from your extra deck to the graveyard to destroy all monsters your opponent controls. I really like this card because it's a towers that is also a quick play Raigeki. That also plays, actually funny enough, plays well with the one copy of Baguska. As with this deck, you will always have Baguska in defense mode, and while Baguska is in defense, it changes all monsters to defense mode, and the activated effects of monsters in defense are negated. Which I was actually able to figure out that you can actually have an end board of Baguska, Liger Dancer, and SP Lunalight, with Baguska putting everything your opponent has in defense, while you have an SP and a Liger Dancer in attack mode. One of my friends, when I played this, was not happy about that because I was able to do it against him. Then I play one copy of Tornado Dragon just to deal with back row. One copy of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Tiger King. its only purpose in this deck is to set the 10 key from deck, and then be able to search for any Beast Warrior you want. And then after that, I had 2 extra spots, which most people I was seeing were playing. Kinsella told me M7, which you can make in this deck using 2 Perfume Dancers, to then be able to just detach a material, target a monster on the field, return it back to the hand. Whereas I decided to use 1 copy of Dragulus. This card never came up because I never had 2 Perfume Dancers, so I'm probably going to end up taking this out for either another Link monster, another Lunalight fusion monster, or I might even just toss another rank 4. Speaking of, I also played 1 copy of Ragna Zero. This is just in here for, because I know there's a couple people that play Kashtira, and their field spell increases the attack of all their monsters, so anyway, Ragna Zero has the effect that once per turn as a quick effect, you can detach material from this card, so you can target at 1 attack position monster your opponent controls, whose current attack is different from its original, destroy it, and then you get a draw card. I just thought this would be a neat one of if should it come up, which it didn't. But like I said, there's a few changes I want to make to the deck. Like I want to find 4 cards to take out for 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods, and then 1 copy of Serenade Dance. But for now, this is just what I have. Anyway, if you have any ideas what I can do to improve the deck, any ideas for decks like to be made in the future, or decks like to see face each other, feel free to comment down below if you're still watching. And if you are still watching, thanks for watching.